One of the most exciting week fives, early weeks in the season that I can recall was some incredible games on Sunday, the longest day in NFL history, with a game in London early in the morning, and then a weather delay that caused the Pittsburgh Dallas game to go well past midnight. But we also had an incredible Thursday night game and a pretty entertaining Monday night game as well. It was just an incredible weekend of football. And that means we have a lot of shakeup in the power rankings. Some really interesting outcomes that definitely changed my outlook on some of these teams, and some teams that just continue to drop, and some big surprises this week. So I'm really excited to get into this one. Before we get into it, though, consider hitting that like and subscribe button. Helps me out, helps get this out to more people with the algorithm. It lets other people know and lets me know that you guys are enjoying the video. Also, check out my Patreon, which I'll leave linked down below for my NFL draft fans. It is my full draft guide with nearly 500 prospects on there, scouting reports, measurements, all of that fun stuff. And sign up for Underdog Fantasy using my code JWAC to get double your initial deposit. I love their higher, lower games. Play them every week and have a blast. So those are the plugs I have, and let's go ahead and get into it, starting with the number 32 team. And the New England Patriots have officially fallen down to number 32, a team that I talked about I thought were going to be one of the worst in the league coming into the year, and that has remained true through 5 weeks. They're 1-4, and you kind of look at that week one game, and you're like, okay, I don't really know how much to make of it. They beat the Cincinnati Bengals, who have only won one game on the season themselves. This is a Patriots team that's just really bad on, honestly, both sides of the football. Offensively, Jacoby Brissett has just been terrible for this team. Cannot move the ball, cannot push the ball down the field. The offensive line's not doing a great job protecting up front. The weapons, I think the weapons are playing fine. It really puts you in a tough situation when you've got a quarterback that's really unwilling to push the ball down the field in any sort of way. Jalen Polk has shown flashes. Pop Douglas has gotten open. Jacoby Brissett just doesn't seem to have any confidence or time in the backfield. And then the defense started off pretty good the first couple of weeks. They haven't really played amazing the last few. Keon White's still having a good year. Christian Gonzalez has been fantastic. There's just a Patriots team that I think is really bad. I've had them at that number 30 spot, but I think they are officially the worst team in the league this year. And I mean, I just don't know how many wins I see on this team's schedule, in all honesty. I think this team's terrible, both sides of the football. And there's talk that Drake May could start next Sunday against Houston. I think that would be a disaster given the fact that Houston has a pass rush. He's going to get absolutely destroyed in that game if they throw him out there. I just don't really see a right way for this to go for New England this year. And I got them at number 32. Don't let a win this week fool you. The Dolphins are still absolutely terrible. They're coming in at my number 31 spot. They beat my number 32 team, and that's really the only reason they move up. It's because I think by default they have to move up. Again, wasn't a very impressive performance by any side. And I mean, from the recording we had last week, this team has gotten even more banged up. Jalen Phillips is now out for the season. Again, that one really hurts. This team is just decimated by injuries right now. And you got to think, though, if this team can get Tua back and be around 500, kind of where they're at now, I'm not ready to fully write the Dolphins off. Tua played well the first game. Wouldn't say he played great, but this offense does move because of Tua, his ability to get the ball out of his hand quickly. Here's my big issue with this team. Miami just doesn't really seem to know how to get their playmakers involved. I think they did a better job of it against New England, but this team just doesn't seem to know how to get the playmakers involved. You've got Tyreek Hill. You've got Devon Achane. I know he went out, but get Tyreek Hill in the backfield. Hand the ball off to him. Get him on bubble screens. Bring him in for a little pop pass. Like, there's different ways you can get the offense involved. It doesn't really seem like Mike McDaniel is pushing the right buttons at the right time. That's a big issue for this team. And I've been pretty disappointed with the defense as a whole. Just a bad team on both sides of the football right now. And you got to hope Tua comes back healthy and it's not too late. But from what we've seen so far, I just don't see how Miami is not a bottom 3 team in the league. Tennessee was one of 4 teams on their bye week this week. They stay at number 30. It's going to be very interesting looking ahead to next week on if Will Levis is going to start. There's some question marks around the injury that he did suffer. It sounds like an AC joint, if I'm not mistaken. So those injuries can linger from time to time. You got to, if you're a Titans fan, I guess you're hoping he comes back, but I don't really know if you are. I've said this on numerous times. I think he's a bottom 3 starting quarterback in football right now. And I just don't think if this is a team, if you look at the current state of the AFC, I can't write anybody off right now except New England and Miami. And even Miami, we kind of talked about the caveat there. I can't really write this Tennessee team off because they're playing good defense. They've got a run game. They've got weapons. Which quarterback gives you the best chance to win? Is it Will Levis? Because right now I don't think it is. We talked about it. I think the defense is playing well. I think up front, that front seven's doing a really good job of penetrating. Been really impressed by the Jeffrey Simmons, Tavondre Sweat duo. I really like the way some of the secondary's playing. And the offensive line, while it's very inconsistent, it definitely shows promise. You got to figure out that quarterback situation moving into the coming weeks. But I'll be very interested to see kind of what Callahan decides to do. But didn't play this week. They stay at number 30. At number 29, I mean, this has got to be one of the worst takes. I'm not going to blame myself for this one. I think we got to blame everyone in the NFL community because we were fooled by this Cleveland team. I don't even know where to begin with this team. I think you got to start with Deshaun Watson, who has been an absolute – I mean, there's no words that can describe how bad he is, and I try and keep this a PG channel. So I'm not going to say anything there. He has been unbelievably terrible for Cleveland. He has zero confidence in the pocket. He thinks he can do more than he can. I think he trusts his arm a little too much. Too many overthrows. Not a lot of confidence. Doesn't have a lot of protection. On top of that, I think he's completely lost this locker room. I mean, there was one play in this game. I think it's a 3rd down. Throws it to Amari Cooper. Misses him badly. And they pan to Amari Cooper. And Amari Cooper looks livid. He just looks like he doesn't want anything to do with this guy. He had an 8.6 QBR. I don't think words can describe just how bad that is. He's been horrible, but it's not just Deshaun Watson. The offensive line has been awful. They cannot run the ball. Jerome Ford has been horrible for this team, and the defense has not been playing up to Cleveland Browns' standard of defense. This is the best defense in the league last year. Myles Garrett didn't have a tackle or a sack in the game against Washington. They're allowing teams to throw the ball on them. Malik Neighbors had a field day. Jaden Daniels is throwing dimes left and right. This was a team that we all thought was going to be great. And, I mean, I look at the ownership. I definitely think this is the Haslam's just kind of banning Stefanski for making the call. But I'm also blaming Stefanski because I don't think he's putting this team in the best situation to win. I think his in-game management's been terrible. I think Stefanski could be on the hot seat if they don't win. We've already seen this is an ownership that makes rash decisions. Wouldn't be shocked if they make a crazy move. But Cleveland is just an absolute liability right now. I don't trust this team at all. They're at number 29. At number 28, we got the Carolina Panthers. They dropped down 2 spots. I mean, what did we expect? I mean, I think Carolina has shown some pretty good stuff. Andy Dalton definitely gives you a better chance to win football games. This offensive line has been one of the best units in all of football. It sucks. I believe Corbett went down. I don't know the severity of the injury, but it seems like it could be a pretty long one. If I'm not mistaken, it was season ending. That one hurts. He's been really good at that starting center spot, but the offensive line's playing good. The issues that this team has, they have no defense. They don't have a pass rush, which we knew would happen when they trade Brian Burns, but Jadeveon Clowney has not really been great. The secondary is getting torched. I mean, you got J.C. Horn, doesn't really seem like he wants to be there. There's just a lot of concerns I have with this Panthers team. I will say, though, offensively, Chuba Hubbard's playing well. Deontay Johnson's playing well. And shout out my guy, Jalen Coker, a guy that I really liked. I talked about a couple of times here on the channel as a sleeper down the board. Went undrafted, but had a really nice game. 4 catches, 68 yards, his first NFL action. hoping they can kind of get him back in the lineup because I thought he made some good plays for them. But yeah, this is a Panthers team that's bottom 5, bottom 6 in the league. Don't really think there's any way you can cut it differently, but I think they're a little bit more scrappy than some of the other teams we mentioned because I think their quarterback gives them a chance. Jacoby Brissett doesn't give you a chance. Huntley doesn't give you a chance. Deshaun Watson doesn't give you a chance. And whoever the Titans quarterback is, they haven't really shown me anything. So I got the Panthers a little bit higher than most just because of the quarterback situation. I don't want to celebrate the Jacksonville Jaguars because they beat my team this weekend, but they do jump up 4 spots. This team makes absolutely no sense. I know I've got a pretty big Jags following, so I'm very curious kind of how the fan base is going to receive these comments. But even when Jacksonville wins, it doesn't feel good. I don't know how you can walk away from that game against Indianapolis and feel confident going forward with this team. Number one, you played an Indy defense that was putrid all day long. We won't talk about that until just a little bit. Offensively, you played a pretty much perfect game. Trevor Lawrence has the 1 interception in this one early, which shockingly, that's his 2nd interception of the year. Brian Thomas Jr. goes off. Tank Bigsby plays really well. Trayvon Walker has a career day. I wanted to spend a little bit of time on this. I've been lower on Trayvon Walker coming into this year. I had a lot of concerns about him, just the lack of a pass rush, and he was phenomenal against Indianapolis. 3 sacks. I think he had 5 pressures, had a near 91 PFF pass rush grade. He was everywhere in this game, and I don't think we are going to talk about this enough. Trayvon Walker was incredible in this one against a really good Colts offensive line that just stifled TJ Watt last week. The defense played good. This was a really good defense, stopped the Colts from running the ball, and somehow when the game gets close, it feels like Jacksonville's trying to choke the game away. You're at 14 with 6 minutes left. You blow the lead, and you need a walk-off field goal, basically. If they lose in London, which I'm predicting they will, I think this is it for Doug Peterson. I just don't think he's got control of the locker room. I just don't know how you can feel great about that. Now, they did get a win. I still trust Trevor Lawrence. I trust his offense a little bit more than some of these other teams because this is a talented roster. I don't think anyone's denying that, but they've got to make a move in the coaching staff. And I'm not really sure what to make of this Jags team, but I got them at 27 going into next week. Dropping a spot is the Vegas Raiders, another team that I really don't know what to make of. And once they trade Devontae Adams, which by the looks of it, by the time this video goes up, Devontae Adams could be traded. I don't really know what to make of this Raiders team, though, because I think they play decently on both sides of the football. I don't think they play good on either side of the football, if that makes any sense. Defense, you get a little bit from Max Crosby, not really having a great season in all honesty. The offense, it looks okay. Brock Bowers is playing incredible, but another one of these teams that I just don't trust the quarterback situation. This is a team that you could argue should be bottom 3. They're 2-3. They've squeaked out 2 really weird wins against both who did they beat? They beat Cleveland, and I want to say I'm blanking on the second team that they beat. But they've had a couple of really weird wins. Oh, they beat Baltimore. Yeah. I'm not really sure about this Raiders team. I think coaching's bad. I think the quarterback room's bad. Run game's bad, but they're playing well up front in the trenches. Maybe they could be below Jacksonville, but I don't see them being much lower than that. I've got them at 26, though. At 25, we got the Los Angeles Rams, and this one just really sucks because I think all of us know if this Rams team had literally any other players on this team could be 4-1. They could be 5-0 even. They've been in a lot of really close games outside of the Arizona one. We're right in it till the finish with Green Bay. They were right in it with Detroit. And, you're missing Cooper Kupp. You're missing Puka Nacua. You're missing pieces in the secondary. This team is just so banged up, and I don't want to keep making excuses, but that's kind of the only excuse that we have right now. They're playing hard football for a defense that's severely under-talented. They just don't have very much talent. Jared Verse is playing good football. Braden Fisk is playing good football for them. Byron Young He's playing good football. Like, you're getting good play from the defense. You're getting solid play from the offense. I mean, Stafford's playing, he's getting beat up, throwing to Tutu Atwell and Puka Nacua, or not Puka Nacua, he wishes, and Jordan Whittington. And I mean, if that's your 1-2 right now, I don't feel great about it moving forward. So I've got them at 25. I just don't really see a path for this team until they get healthy. But lucky for them, the NFC is a complete mess right now. They're another one of these teams I'm not ready to completely write off because, like I said, they have been scrappy. And if they get some of these guys back, I think they could still kind of squeak in to get that 7 seed. All right, I guess everyone's favorite part of the video is here, my time to rant about my team for 2 minutes. First of all, Flacco had a good game, but I think anyone saying that Flacco should start over Richardson, I still think it's ridiculous. I mean, Richardson started 8 games in his career. He's still the youngest quarterback in the league. He's shown promise. And Shane Steichen came out today and said, Anthony's our guy. So we're going to just get that narrative out of the way. I don't really know how the Colts are supposed to win this game. Jonathan Taylor's out. Anthony Richardson's out. You're missing Ryan Kelly up front. You're missing DeForest Buckner. You're missing Kwity Paye. Those are like 5 of the 10 most important players on the team that were all out in this game. What you shouldn't have had was what you played on Sunday. The offense was fine. I mean, Josh Downs has been incredible since he came into the lineup again. My only real complaint with the offense right now, prayers up to Will Fries. That's a brutal injury. He'd been playing the best football of his career. Adonai Mitchell, he just looks scared. I mean, that's the only way I could put it. He looks so timid, does not look like he wants to get hit ever. That's got to change because it's been a real rough watch to see Adonai Mitchell because he just stops running routes sometimes, and it's terrible. But the big issue is this defense that is just so bad. Gus Bradley should be fired yesterday. He should have been fired after week 1 and week 2 after that horrible Packers performance. I mean, you have a terrible defensive coordinator right now that just they can't tackle. The defensive coordinator's got a scheme that doesn't really play to the team's strengths. It's a lot of zone. This team is not athletic, or this team needs to play more in man. They have the athleticism to do it. We're playing mostly zone. We don't blitz. Trevor Lawrence needed to be blitzed more in this game because he doesn't do well under pressure. We don't have our pass rushers to create pressure. Why aren't we generating pressure with more players? Didn't make sense there. You had 16 missed tackles. I mean, the whole thing is a disaster, and somehow they were still in this game. I have zero faith in this team as long as Gus Bradley's the defensive coordinator. Hopefully Jonathan Taylor can get healthy. I think he would have been a difference maker in this one, but I just got a lot of concerns about this defense. And Latu's played well. The defensive line just couldn't create pressure against Jacksonville. I got Indianapolis at 24. At 23, it is one of my sleeper teams coming into the year. Who were my 5 sleeper teams? I know I had the Giants. I had the Commanders. We'll get to them later. I had the Panthers. Bad take from me there. I'm blanking on a couple of the other ones I had, but the Giants were one of these teams. I was like, look, if Daniel Jones could be a serviceable quarterback, there's no reason this team can't be in the playoff mix. And I know it's early. I know they're 2-3. They're below 500. But this Giants team has actually played really, really well through the first 5 weeks. I've been really impressed with what we've seen. Number one, I think Daniel Jones is playing maybe the best football of his career. Had an incredible game against Seattle. He looked comfortable. He looked composed. He looked accurate with the football. The deep ball was actually hitting. And I said this last week in the power rankings when I kind of knocked on Daniel Jones. I was like, he's got to hit the deep ball. He bounced back because he looked really good outside of the deep ball against Dallas. Performed really well against Seattle. Granted, Seattle's missing their entire D-line, but the Giants up front did a good job of protecting for him, and he made plays. Tyrone Tracy had a great game. You're missing Malik Neighbors, and you end up winning that game. So that's a big win. I think the defense is playing pretty well. They're generating pressure up front with Sexy Dexy, with Brian Burns and Kayvon Thibodeau, who I think is having a really solid season as well. This Giants team is scrappy. They're going to be in a lot of close games. They're going to play hard. And once you get Neighbors back, I mean, you're in an easy division right now. I don't trust Dallas that much. I don't trust Philly. I mean, there's a chance that this team can win 6, 7, 8 games at their floor. I think this is a solid team that's playing good football, and I got them at number 23. At number 22, we got the somehow 3-2 Denver Broncos. I'm not going to say somehow. This offense, I'm not going to spend much time on it. Bo Nix still's got to clean up some of these inconsistencies. He shows flashes of like, okay, you see the growth and development, but overall, he's still a very raw prospect, kind of, which is really weird considering the player we thought he was coming out of Oregon. They were able to run the ball a little bit better with Javonte Williams. You love to see that. This defense, though, I think is the best in the league right now, and I don't really know that there's a close second. Patrick Surtain he's the best corner in the league right now. You guys know I'm a big Sauce Gardner guy. I still think Sauce is right up there. Patrick Surtain is playing out of his mind right now. And got a Patrick Surtain up here. That dude is unbelievable. 2 interceptions against Vegas, including a 100-yard pick six. He has been locked down for Denver this year. But let's not forget about the other 2. Riley Moss is playing incredible. First white corner with an interception in 22 years. Shout out my guy Riley Moss. Jaquan McMillan in the slot's playing fantastic. Zach Allen's creating pressure. You're getting pressure from Jonathan Cooper, Baron Browning, Nick Bonito. I was up close to this Broncos defense. I had concerns about this pass rush. I don't know where those concerns went. They've been incredible. This secondary looks amazing. You got to hope that the defense can kind of clean things up, or the offense can clean things up, be a little bit more consistent. But right now, from what we're seeing, Denver could be that last playoff team. I really do think they're playing that well defensively that alone could get them into the playoffs. And I got the Broncos at number 22. Just when I'm ready to write this team off, they just bring me back in. And it's the Arizona Cardinals at number 21. A weird game from them. I thought the offense was okay. Marvin Harrison didn't have a great role in this one. Michael Wilson, my guy from a couple years ago, he played a really good game. They were able to run the ball pretty well with James Conner. This is a completely different team with Trey McBride in the lineup. That's really what it comes down to. When Trey McBride's playing, this team blocks better and they have more weapons. Kyler didn't have the cleanest of games, but it was enough to get the win. The defense played well against San Francisco, forced late turnovers. That was kind of the difference for them. This team, I still don't know what to make of the defense. It looks like you're getting Darius Robinson back soon. I still think this defense is one of the worst in the league, but offensively, they just have too many playmakers. They're going to find ways to win just because they are going to score a ton of points, and teams just aren't going to be able to match the firepower. A really, really good game from Arizona. Pull off a big upset, and now you look at that NFC West playoff picture. A big game Thursday night between Seattle and San Francisco, but they're only a game back right now. Like Arizona, that division's a really tight race right now, and I think Arizona's playing pretty well. A couple of bad losses. Kyler's been inconsistent up and down with accuracy, but I've got Arizona at 21. At 20, it's the team we just got done watching. It's the New Orleans Saints. Really frustrating game from the Saints. I was really frustrated. Like I said, Derek Carr from the opening drive just didn't have it. It was not his night. Inaccuracy, looked like vintage Derek Carr. Taking shots, overthrowing receivers, throwing into double coverage, throwing off his back foot. Just vintage Derek Carr stuff, which you didn't see the first 2 weeks of the season from the Saints offense. Alvin Kamara had a good game. They found ways to get him involved on both the pass and the run. This team's banged up offensively, though. You're missing guys on the offensive line, which is a big thing for them. You're missing Taysom Hill, who quietly is the most important player on this roster. And then defensively, too many miscommunications. Too many Chiefs players are just wide open in the middle of the field for Lord knows what reason. I think Tyrann Mathieu slips in the secondary. Just some bad plays from this team. And the pass rush was never great coming into the year. We knew that. But you had a good secondary. we didn't really see any of that. They had bad penalties, bad miscommunication, and overall, this is a pretty bad night for the Saints defense. I know it's not going to show up for the Chiefs because they didn't outscore them by like triple, but it was not a good game from the Saints defense. I still got them at 20. I still have a little bit of faith that this offense can turn it around. But Derek Carr got banged up in this one, so who knows kind of what his health is going to be moving towards next week. It's an oblique injury, same injury Anthony Richardson had. His status might be questionable. I got the Saints at number 20. Didn't think we'd be talking about this early in the season, but I got the Jets at 19. Sorry, Peter. I mean, I don't really know what this Jets team is right now. I really don't. Do I think they get Devontae Adams, and do I think it can like help turn this thing around? Yes, because I think right now this offense feels so one-dimensional. Alan Lazard has been not good for this team. He's had a couple of moments, but that's your wide receiver too. You're in a rough spot right now. Garrett Wilson gets targeted 22 times in London. Doesn't really matter in the end. He had a good game, 13 catches, over 100 yards. The defense has not been the same. I still think this is a top 10, 12 defense in the league, but definitely have fallen back. You're missing some of that pass rush juice. But the big issue with this team is two things. One, Aaron Rodgers' processing is not the same that we once thought it was. Made some really bad reads, some bad throws in this game that ended up costing the Jets ultimately in the end. But the other issue, the coaching staff needs to realize, like, Breece Hall, Braylon Allen are like two of the best young running backs in the league. They just have got completely gone away from the run game. Breece Hall was pretty solid the first 3 weeks of the season. Had a great game against Tennessee, played okay against San Francisco, had a really good game against New England. And then all of a sudden they're like, you know what? I don't want to give that guy the ball anymore. And he's just not touching the football. I mean, as a Breece Hall fantasy owner, I feel betrayed, but also like, why wouldn't you give the ball to your playmakers? Nathaniel Hackett is still one of the worst offensive coordinators in the league, but you can't fire him if you're the Jets because that's Aaron Rodgers' guy. You can't create this turmoil in the locker room, but you should fire Robert Saleh. He's just been a disaster. Statistically, like one of the bottom 10 coaches in terms of win percentage, if I'm not mistaken. I mean, just been a horrible head coach for this team. And they got Buffalo next week. I mean, you got to hope Aaron Rodgers can show us what he showed that Thursday night against New England. Granted, it was New England, but yeah, the bad weather condition game that I didn't want to read too much into, but the way this game went against Minnesota, yeah, I had the Jets moving significantly down this week. The second of 4 teams on a bye week this week were the LA Chargers. Couldn't have come at a better time for them. This is a team that was banged up. Both tackles were hurt. You were missing Bosa. You're missing Herbert. You can get a chance to get healthy, and that's good news going to Denver next week to play a Broncos team that's been really scrappy. This is an interesting Chargers team right now because I don't think the offense has clicked yet. I really don't. I think Justin Herbert still battling injuries, still hasn't really hit that 100% mark yet. The run games looked good. J.K. Dobbins has been all right for him. The offensive line's played well, but I haven't been moved by anything the offense has done. Defensively, you feel pretty solid about what you've seen so far, particularly up front. Tui Tuipulotu's played well. Khalil Mack's played well. Derwin James has had a good year. They have been one of the top defenses in the league this year under this new hardball regime. You got to hope that the defense can continue to play at this level, and you just wait for this offense to click. They've shown flashes, but you look at their 2 wins, neither of them are moving. You beat Carolina and you beat Vegas. You lost to Pittsburgh. You lost to Kansas City. So a couple of bad losses there. You beat up on some easy teams. I think Denver is going to be the first real test to see what this Chargers team actually is. But I got them at number 18. Another one of these teams didn't play this week and didn't move up or down. At number 17, we've got the Seattle Seahawks, a team that I'm really struggling with. I get that this team is banged up. I get it. But you should not have gotten embarrassed the way that you did. Each of the last 2 weeks, really. Mike McDonald came in. I'm not really discrediting this. We thought that he was going to turn this defense around overnight. In the first 3 weeks, we were like, okay, this defense is playing really well. They're creating turnovers. They're generating a pass rush. Byron Murphy's playing well. I get you're injured, but they've got depth on this defense. Like, they've got players. The offense just is not matching firepower. Now, I know, like, a couple of weird plays in this one were kind of the finishing touch, but they didn't really run the ball very much in this game, which was a very interesting decision by Seattle. They kind of went away from the run early. Geno's played good this year, but I don't know. With Kenneth Walker, Zach Charbonnet, the success you had each of the first 4 weeks running the football, you would have thought they went to the run a little bit more. We didn't really see that. A lot more of the air raid stuff, and those big plays weren't really available against the Giants. And I mean, you look at their 3 wins that they had early on in the season. You beat New England in overtime, and a really weird one. You beat Bo Nix in his first career game, and then you beat who else did they beat? They beat another team that was towards the bottom of. They beat Miami with Skylar Thompson. The last 2 weeks against better teams, we just haven't really seen that Seattle team really show up yet. Again, that Thursday night game against San Francisco is going to be the real chance and real test to see what this Seattle team actually is. But right now, I got them at 17. At number 16, sitting dead in the middle of the league, it is the Chicago Bears. I've been really, really, really impressed with the way they've turned things around the last couple of weeks. And I'm honestly going to go back to the week 3 game against Indianapolis, because I came on the record and I was like, guys, the people that didn't watch this game, Caleb Williams is doing some special stuff in this game that no one's going to talk about. We're going to talk about the interceptions and we're going to talk about the overthrows. But this is a team, yes, you beat Carolina. I'm well aware of who they just beat. That Carolina team, though, has played pretty tough each of the last 2 weeks. They beat Vegas. They played pretty tough last week as well. And they demolished this team. They were very, very good. The defense came to play. They weren't playing around. Did a really good job. It looked like this one would be close early. Chuba Hubbard goes down, scores a touchdown. After that, the Bears defense really turned it around. And then you kind of look at the offense, and they're able to run the ball, which is keeping defenses honest. I think this 1-2 punch of DeAndre Swift, Roschon Johnson, it's been pretty good for them. And they've won each of the last 2 weeks with an established run game and their defense playing good. But Caleb Williams is playing really good football right now. Everyone's talking about Jaden Daniels, and rightfully so. But Caleb Williams is playing really good football as well. Each of the last 2 weeks, he's been very accurate. He's been very smart with his decision-making. I believe he had 3 touchdowns against Carolina, 300 yards. I mean, a really good game from a great quarterback. And he now has as many 300-yard games as Justin Fields did in 5 games. I'm sorry. They made the right decision. I know there's still some Fields truthers out there. After what we saw last night, I'm not sure why. But Caleb Williams has been good. This defense is playing well. The offensive line's playing good. I'm really excited for this London game on Sunday, because if they can beat Jacksonville, go to 4-2, their schedule does look favorable. You got a game against Washington that's going to be a tough one, but I like this Chicago team, and I've got them at number 16. Another one of the bye week teams this week were the Philadelphia Eagles. I've got them at 15 right now. Really need to see some consistency, because I think Jalen Hurts has been one of the bottom 10 quarterbacks in the league this year in terms of pocket awareness, in terms of just accuracy, just spraying balls left and right. And you got to see it get cleaned up. This team is too talented to be at 500 5 weeks into the season, and they have had some games that they should have won. That being said, I think Saquon has been a massive pickup for this team, and it's one that they desperately needed. He's been incredible for them in terms of rushing the football, which you really like to see. And on top of that, I think that the defense has been okay. The pass rush has not been great, but, I mean, you're getting better play from the linebackers than you thought. Zach Bond's been great. I think Quinion Mitchell's been a really nice young corner as well, which you like to see from them. But there's a lot of question marks around this team. I think if they lose Sunday against Cleveland, that's it for Nick Sirianni. I think he gets the boot, and I think Kellen Moore finally gets the head coaching job that it seems like we've been talking about Kellen Moore as a head coaching candidate for 15 years at this point, and he still hasn't gotten that opportunity. I think if they lose on Sunday to that horrible Browns team, and that'll be it. Now, on the bright side for the Eagles, you get this bye week again, kind of at a perfect time. You get a chance for Devonta Smith. You get a chance for A.J. Brown to get healthy. Hopefully those guys are available because when they're on the field, this is a completely different offense, an offense with playmakers absolutely everywhere, an offensive line that can do a pretty good job of protecting up front. So lucky that they can get those guys healthy. They're at number 15, though. I know everyone's going to hate that I still have not sold my Bengals stock. I don't know how you can sell your Bengals stock. Look at what this offense is doing. Joe Burrow is lighting up a Ravens secondary that didn't have a bad game. And they had every opportunity to win this game, and it comes down to the defense. The defense continues to sell them out in these big moments. They've lost 4 games by a combined 15 points in a one-possession game against Baltimore, a one-possession game against Kansas City, a one-possession game against Washington. You lose to New England and another one-possession game, and you beat Carolina. Look, you beat up Carolina, that's fine. 3 of the teams you've lost to are later on in the video. We haven't even gotten to them. But the defense and clock management and game management stuff has been a disaster. I know a lot of Bengals fans really upset with Zach Taylor today because they should have won that game. And just the cowardice to kind of run the ball 3 times after you force the turnover to try and get better field goal position after the way Burrow and Chase and Higgins had played. I mean, Burrow was phenomenal in this game. I mean, that one stings if you are a Bengals fan because, like I said, you had every opportunity to win that game. You played the better game than Baltimore did. The defense comes up with a big stop, and Zach Taylor's coaching kind of loses you this football game. This offense looks, I think they're playing like the best offensive football right now, like we expected them to. Jamar Chase is 100% back. Joe Burrow is playing out of his mind right now. He is putting balls on a string. He's been accurate. The offensive line's doing a good job up front protecting as well. It's just this defense, Lou Anarumo, who we once viewed as like this elite defensive mind, it doesn't look like it. And now you're probably out Dax Hill for the season. So if they lose to the Giants, I'm ready to kind of give up on this team because you have to beat the Giants. You have to beat the Giants on Sunday night. If you lose that one, I don't really think there's any coming back from it. At number 13, we got the Pittsburgh Steelers. Now, I don't really want to completely write this team off. Really, really weird game. Rainstorm delays it till 8:45 or 9:45 Eastern time. Game goes till almost 1 in the morning East Coast time. I mean, a really strange game from the get-go. But this offense has to figure some stuff out. I know we talk about this every year with the Steelers, and they find ways to pull out these wins because their defense is so good. The defense hasn't played so good the last couple of weeks. This is a Cowboys team that was kind of able to run the ball a little bit better than they have all year long against this Steelers team. The Colts figured something out against his defense as well. They were able to run the ball effectively. They were able to push the ball down the field as well. The corners have been not great. Joey Porter Jr., I know you picked off Dak twice in this one, but I think every Steelers fan would agree. Secondary, still a pretty big concern with this Steelers team. And on top of that, you get the vintage Justin Fields game right after I praised him for having the best game of his career last week. I don't know how much more Justin Fields praise I'm ever going to give. He was not good. I mean, the inaccurate passes, bad decision-making, holding on to the ball too long. It looked like Chicago Justin Fields again. Do you go to Russell Wilson? If you continue to lose games, do you consider going to Russ? Maybe. I'm going to be really interested to see kind of what this week kind of entails, because Mike Tomlin still just kind of seems like he's not writing off the possibility of Russ being the starter, which has been interesting. The other note that I wanted to talk about, they can't run the football. Najee Harris has been terrible for them. And George Pickens, I mean, one of my least favorite players in the league, in all honesty, just seems to constantly be upset, tries to do too much on the football field, and ultimately ends up hurting his team because of it, and then gets the penalty late in this game. A lot of immaturity, which is why he fell in the draft, but it seems to show up on tape week in and week out, and you really hate to see it because he is very talented, but got to get that fixed. Yeah, I mean, not much more to say with the Steelers. Not writing them off, a weird game, but they do drop a spot to number 13. The other team that was in part of that game, the Dallas Cowboys, got them back up for just a gritty win from this Cowboys team. Parsons, Lawrence, Sam Williams out, your three best defensive pass rushers. And then Marshawn Kneeland goes down. So you're down 4 pass rushers in this one. You find a way to win the football game. That's the definition of resilience. On the road, poor weather conditions. Dak has a couple of interceptions in this game, a couple of bad throws. Seems like him and CD are getting into it on the sideline. And it doesn't seem to matter. Dak ends up showing up when it matters, making a play, and they score with about 20-some seconds left in this game and beat Pittsburgh. That's the kind of win you need if you're a Cowboys fan. You didn't look great against the Giants. You didn't look amazing in really any of the other games you played. You needed this win to just kind of get back on track. McCarthy needed one as well, because I think if they lose this one, we start talking about job security, and that wouldn't have been great for this organization. But a big win for Dak, I think. A quarterback that just hasn't really had a lot of these big, clutch, primetime moments. On the brightest stage, Sunday Night Football, he ends up pulling it off, and a big win for Dallas. So got them at number 12 this week, hoping they can get Parsons back next week and have a little bit more stability. Luckily, Marshawn Kneeland did avoid a serious injury. I don't know if he'll play next week against Detroit, but they were able to stop the run. That's what this team has seemed to be able to do. They don't really pass the ball well or defend the pass well yet. So we'll kind of see what Detroit brings at him next week. But I got him at number 12. The team I'm just finally ready to kind of like give into is this Atlanta Falcons team. I know this game was almost a week ago at this point. That game was phenomenal. Awesome Thursday night game. And I mean, I got a lot to say about it. Kirk Cousins was phenomenal in this game, was showing some mobility, showing the ability to pass on the run, which you like to see, was going through his progressions, getting the ball out to everybody. Everybody seemed to have a good game. Drake London was fantastic in this one. That was by far his best game of his career. Darnell Mooney, I mean, I had Bears fans telling me that Justin Fields was not the problem with Darnell Mooney, and he was just a bad receiver. That's why the Bears let him go for nothing. Justin Fields is a one-read quarterback, and Darnell Mooney was the number 2 read. He's been fantastic early on this year for Atlanta. Kyle Pitts, he's back. The only guy that didn't get the ball is Bijan Robinson. This was what frustrated me, because Zach Robinson is handing the ball off to Bijan. He has a really good drive late in this one. And it's like second down or something, and they just are like, you know what? We're going to play Tyler now. And he gets every snap for the rest of the drive. It made absolutely no sense because Bijan was having a really good drive. Didn't understand that one bit. Defense didn't play great, in all honesty. They made plays when it mattered most, but we've seen good stuff from their defense this year. We were waiting on that big offensive explosion from Atlanta. We finally saw it. They get Carolina next week, which is a very favorable matchup for them. Yeah, I like this Falcons team. They're scrappy. They play well. And if you get that performance from the offense again, they're going to be a tough team to beat. I still give Tampa the benefit of the doubt over Atlanta as of now, despite the win. Now, For one, the overtime rules kind of suck. I think if we do get Baker Mayfield to get the ball in overtime, they go on and score. But the rules just aren't great. This is a really interesting team. They passed the ball well. Baker had another fantastic game. Accurate, made incredible decisions. Chris Godwin, Mike Evans, both making really big plays for them in this one, which you like to see. Defensively, they were not good. This was by far, I think, their worst defensive performance of the year. Vita Vea had a couple of big plays in this one, but it just didn't feel like you felt any sort of presence up front in terms of their pass rush. I get you're missing Antoine Winfield, but the secondary just didn't really seem to have that game that you wanted to see from them. Up front, they didn't create a ton of pressure. Kirk Cousins had a lot of time to throw, and he found open receivers as a result of it. So that's got to get cleaned up. I mean, I don't really have a lot to say. They dropped to number 10 for me. Bucs fans are still going to be upset with me for having them at 10. I got Bucs fans mad at me every week at this point. It is what it is. But I'm still going to give them the benefit of the doubt over Atlanta. I think they had a better product start to finish. Just a bad fumble late and weird overtime rules that don't really favor the team that doesn't win the coin toss. So I got Tampa Bay at number 10. I think they're playing good football. I think they're going to be just fine moving forward. At number 9, we got the Green Bay Packers. Man, can the Packers play in like a normal game? This team just feels really weird right now. Jordan Love is playing okay football, I guess. Just doesn't seem to have the accuracy right now. Has to rein in some of these throws, making some really bad decisions, but at the same time, he's making some unbelievable throws. The throw and catch to Jaden Reed was one of the best plays you're going to see all week long. I think this Packers team's big issue right now that we haven't really talked about yet on this channel is the defense. It's not something we thought would be the issue with Green Bay coming into the year, but their defense has been pretty disastrous for them. Xavier McKinney, 5 games, 5 interceptions. He's on an awesome route right now, which you love to see from him. A little bit surprised he's not getting more Defensive Player of the Year considerations. Got a Xavier McKinney autograph up here, but a little bit surprised by that. The pass rush, though, has been unbelievably bad. The only real splash play I saw from them was using Edgerrin Cooper as a blitzer. He had incredible athleticism and quickness to kind of burst into the backfield and make some plays. Rashawn Gary has like disappeared. I mean, I don't know where he's at. If anyone can find Rashawn Gary, let me know, because the Packers need him, and he's been terrible for them. Kenny Clark is not generating pressure up front either, and those are your 2 best defensive players. They're not doing anything for you up front. So big concerns there about the pass rush because they need those guys. Lucas Van Ness hasn't quite taken the step that they were hoping. Yeah, some weird stuff from this team. You got to get some of the guys healthy. Romeo Doubs was out. Jerry Alexander, I believe, was also out of this game. So, yes, you had some injuries, and you won the game, that's fine. But the defense is a big concern I have with Green Bay right now. And it's something they've got to get figured out moving forward because this pass rush is really, really bad right now. At number 8, we got the San Francisco 49ers. Another team that, like, they should be better than this, but they also should be worse than this at the same time. They haven't looked convincing since week 1. They had the great week 1 performance against the Jets on Monday night. And since then, haven't really been moved or impressed by anything that this team has done. I do think they're really missing Christian McCaffrey. The dynamism that he brings this offense in terms of his ability to run the football, block, catch out of the backfield, they're missing that. And I do think a lot of their issues stem from none of their skill position. The offensive line has not been great for them. But the other big issue with this team is the defense has not been great, to be completely honest. I mean, Fred Warner is still probably my second pick as Defensive Player of the Year right now. He's been phenomenal. Nick Bosa is making plays. Who else is stepping up for this team? In all honesty, I mean, Hargrave goes down. They don't really have a number 2 edge. They don't really got a lot of pressure coming from the interior. So that one hurts. The secondary has been fine. I think they've been average at best. A lot of weird stuff with this defense. I mean, you did lose a defensive coordinator. And, yeah, just a weird team right now. I need to see more from them. I'm not ready to take them out of the top 10 completely because I know this team's talented. I think Brock Purdy's still playing phenomenal football. But, yeah, they're missing something right now. Can't quite put my finger on it. But they're missing something. And, yeah, I've got them at number 8 going into next week. Never in a million years did I think I'd have the Washington Commanders ranked ahead of the San Francisco 49ers. But here we are. I mean, I can't deny what I'm seeing right now. I really can't. We thought that this would kind of be the game where, like, okay, this is the game where Jaden struggles against a Browns defense that's still pretty good. Nope. He was awesome. Again, that play where he's rolling right, keeps his eyes downfield, finds McLaurin for a 67-yard pass. Unbelievable stuff from the rookie that we're seeing. He is so accurate with the football. I mean, his decision-making is off the charts. He has been one of the best quarterbacks statistically in, like, through his first 5 starts in NFL history. He's been on another level right now for them. But it's not him that I'm most impressed by. It's this offensive line that's like, where did this come from? Brandon Coleman, I thought was like a 6th, 7th round grade player. I thought he was terrible. He's been playing really well for this team. Sam Cosmi's playing really well for this team. You're getting all of these guys involved, Austin Eckler and Brian Robinson, and then Jeremy McNichols is coming in and making plays. De'Ami Brown's making plays. Olamide Zaccheaus. Then the defense is like stepping up for you. Even without Emmanuel Forbes, he spent a 1st-round pick on. I mean, there's so much positive things to say. The vibes are immaculate right now in Washington. We're going to have a really, really, really fun game against Baltimore. Yeah, I'm loving this Commanders team right now, and I got them at number 7. At number 6, we got the Buffalo Bills. Not really worried about Buffalo, given their schedule, given just the team, the way it's constructed and built. But a couple of weird losses, and I do think you are feeling the loss of the safety presence. You do have Taylor Rapp in there. You got Cole Bishop, who's kind of getting some snaps, but DeMar Hamlin, Cole Bishop, I mean, it's not Micah Hyde and Jordan Poyer. That's what this team is missing. That 2-eye safety look is just gone for them. And you got better play from the linebackers. Terrell Bernard back in the lineup. He had a great game. Offensively, you didn't really feel like you had it. Josh Allen was kind of bad in this game, particularly after he got hit in the head. That I think was a concussion, but we'll let that one go. Yeah, a weird offensive performance. Defense was okay, I guess. Nothing crazy. They were in this game. Really, why they lost was poor clock management, and McDermott would tell you that. So they were right in it to the end with Houston. I'm not really worried about it. I think they got to get healthy. They got to get some of these guys back, and hopefully Josh Allen can get right. Bad game from him, but I'm not really worried about Buffalo moving forward. You lost to 2 very good teams the last 2 weeks. Not really worried. I got them at number 6. At number 5, we got the Baltimore Ravens. I mean, Lamar Jackson, as much as I do still find him slightly overrated by the casual NFL fans, I mean, he is so incredible to watch. I mean, his ability on the run to kind of make plays happen, it's just incredible. And that touchdown that he had against Cincinnati where the ball fumbles, he basically stiff-armed Sam Hubbard into the ground to throw a dime in the back of the end zone. I mean, textbook stuff and unbelievable just play on the run there by Lamar. This offense was explosive. They were running the ball, passing the ball. You feel really, really excited about this Ravens offense because they could beat you in so many different ways. Your big worry with this team, though, is Can this team stop anybody's passing game? They have not had a great secondary. They looked pretty bad against Dallas. They looked okay against Buffalo. They had some bad moments there, and they looked really bad against Cincinnati. The secondary is getting kind of torched left and right. Got to get that cleaned up, but I mean, they're playing great football right now. Defensive line's playing really, really well. They're out-rushing everybody. I got the Ravens at number 5. At number 4, we got the Houston Texans. I still feel like Houston's missing something. CJ Stroud's putting up crazy numbers, and they're not like blowing teams out. They're kind of letting teams hang around. They're not scoring very many points, but they're winning games. They're 4-1. They've looked convincing in a lot of these games. Yeah, I don't really have anything negative to say other than, like, you got to hope Nico Collins, the injury's not that serious. That one looked pretty bad, missed the game. The offense feels a lot more one-dimensional, I should say, without Nico Collins in there. I think Nico Collins is maybe the 6th best receiver in football right now. I'm ready to give him that crown. He's been awesome. The offensive line's been good. Yeah, I don't have very many things to say about this team. I mean, you're taking on New England. You should be 5-1. Yeah, I got him at number 4. They're playing good football. They're playing balanced team football on both sides. Defense is making plays happen. Offense, while they're not scoring a ton, they're scoring enough to win these games, and that's all you can ask for. I got the Texans at 4. At 3, we got the Detroit Lions. Not going to spend a lot of time here. Didn't play a game this week, but we finally got to see the offense come alive last week, and that's what you were really hoping for. You were hoping for the offensive explosion from Jared Goff and Amon St. Brown, Jameson Williams, that whole group. And we finally got to see the offense that we thought we were getting. Aiden Hutchinson's my defensive player of the year pretty much a quarter of the way through the season. He's been unbelievable to start this year for him. Going to be very interested to see kind of if they're active during the trade deadline to maybe go get another edge rusher. They've been quietly linked to Devontae Adams, which would be a freaking incredible pickup for this team. But yeah, they're 3-1. They've looked great all season long. Really nothing to say bad about the Lions. They're my number 3 team in the league. At number 2, I know they won, but I dropped them. I kind of think the Jets figured something out in the second half against this Vikings team. You do have a little bit of worries. Sam Darnold didn't look good after the hit. A lot of inconsistencies there from him. And like I said, this is a defense that's been really great all season long. Kind of seemed like the Jets were moving the ball a little bit more effectively in the second half, which was something nobody had been able to do up to this point in the season. So if teams can kind of figure out this defense, I think it could be tough. But, I mean, you're 5-0. I don't really see a catastrophic collapse coming unless Sam Darnold completely reverts back into Sam Darnold. I don't have anything to say about this. They're 5-0. They've looked fantastic defensively. Andrew Van Ginkel's playing incredible. Secondary's making plays. Jonathan Grenard's generating pressure. I mean, everything's going right now for Minnesota. They're my number 2 team. And then at number 1, I got the Chiefs. I think the Chiefs just look better right now. I mean, tonight was the first night where you kind of felt like the Chiefs could do whatever they wanted again, and it worked. I mean, the offense was making big plays, these big chunk splash plays that you've been looking for. Kareem Hunt is playing really good football for them. The defense, you could argue, is the best in football in terms of secondary linebackers. The pass rush up front is really, really solid. Patrick Mahomes had another interception tonight, which you don't love to see, but it doesn't even matter. This team's 5-0. I just don't see who's beating this team right now. They've beaten Baltimore. They've beaten the Saints. They've beaten Kansas City. It's not like they've beaten up on bad teams. They've beaten Cincinnati. They've beaten good teams right now. I think they have beaten 3 teams in my top 15 in their first 5 games. So this Chiefs team's still legit, and they're my number 1 team going into next week. That's going to do it for me in this video. Leave a like. Let me know what you guys think of the rankings down in the comment section below. I'll see you guys in the next one. Adios.